All right, buckle up, everyone, because today we are diving headfirst into the sizzling world of fusion energy.
Sounds exciting.
It is. Specifically, we're zeroing in on China's artificial sun, which is known as EAST. This incredible feat of engineering just shattered a world record, and we're going to break down exactly why this is such a monumental achievement. We've got a recent news article here that lays it all out, but we'll get to that.
I'm all ears.
So to kick things off, let's just get this out there. EAST managed to hold superheated plasma, hotter than the core of the sun, in place for a mind-blowing amount of time.
Yeah, and that's no small feat. To put it in perspective, EAST maintained a high confinement plasma state for over 17 minutes.
17 minutes.
That's right, 1,056 seconds to be exact. It's more than 2.5 times longer than the previous record.
Wow. Okay, so 17 minutes, hot plasma. For those who might not be familiar with fusion, why does any of this matter?
Well, to get energy out of fusion, we need to control this incredibly volatile state of matter. Plasma is basically a swirling sea of charged particles, and to get them to fuse, we need to confine them under immense pressure and heat.
I see. So it's like trying to bottle up a star.
Exactly. And what EAST has accomplished brings us significantly closer to a future where we can generate clean, practically limitless energy.
So it's not just about breaking records. It's about taking a giant leap toward a future where fusion power is actually viable.
Precisely.
Now, what I find really intriguing is how they managed to pull this off. I mean, the last time they set a record, it was impressive, but this is a whole other level. What changed?
Well, one of the key advancements has been in their heating system. They've essentially doubled its power output while, and this is the crucial part, without sacrificing stability. Think about that for a second. They're controlling a system that's hotter than the sun, and they've managed to make it twice as powerful while keeping it stable.
That sounds mind-bogglingly difficult. What did they actually do to the heating system? Was this some brand new technology or some really clever engineering? I mean, it can't be as simple as just cranking up the dial, right?
You're absolutely right. It's not just about brute force. They've implemented these sophisticated control systems that allow them to fine-tune the energy input and manage the plasma behavior with incredible precision.
Okay, so more finesse than force. Got it.
Right. One key innovation has been the use of advanced superconducting magnets.
Superconducting magnets.
Yeah, these magnets generate incredibly strong magnetic fields, which are crucial for confining the plasma. And they upgraded these magnets to handle the increased power output.
Superconducting magnets. Okay, I'm getting flashbacks to high school physics here. Can you remind me how those work and why they're so important for fusion?
Sure. So superconducting magnets are special because they have zero electrical resistance when they're cooled to extremely low temperatures. This means they can carry massive amounts of electrical current without losing any energy as heat. And this allows them to generate these incredibly strong magnetic fields, far stronger than conventional electromagnets.
Ah, so they're super efficient.
Exactly. And as I mentioned, those powerful magnetic fields are essential for containing the superheated plasma, which, let's be honest, really wants to fly apart in all directions.
So it's like an invisible force field holding this miniature sun in place. That's wild.
Pretty much.
But it also sounds like a very, very delicate balancing act. Too weak, and the plasma escapes. Too strong, and, well, who knows what happens.
Exactly. It's a constant push and pull. And remember, we're talking about temperatures exceeding 100 million degrees Celsius here.
100 million degrees.
That's over 6 times hotter than the core of the sun.
Okay, now my brain is officially melting. 100 million degrees. I mean, is there even a way to really visualize that kind of heat?
It's almost impossible to grasp on a human scale. If you could somehow stand next to the plasma inside EAST, well, you'd be vaporized instantly.
I'd rather not try that.
Probably a wise choice. But to give you an idea, think of it this way. It's like having 70,000 microwave ovens all blasting at full power at the same time.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that definitely paints a picture.
That's one way to put it.
This whole thing, it makes me think of the space race back in the day, you know? Back then, it was all about national pride, proving you could get to the moon first. But with fusion, it feels different, more like a global effort where everyone is working together towards this common goal of clean energy. What do you think?
You've hit on a really important point there. Fusion research is by nature a highly collaborative field. And in fact, China is actually a key partner in ITER.
ITER.
Yes.
Yeah.
The International Thermonuclear Experimental Reactor Project. It's the world's largest fusion experiment, currently being built in France, and it has scientists and engineers from all over the world contributing to it.
ITER. That name comes up all the time when I'm reading about fusion. So is this like the International Space Station, but for fusion research?
That's a great analogy.
And what's the connection between ITER and ITER?
Well, you can think of EAST as a smaller scale precursor to ITER. The experiments they're conducting on EAST are providing invaluable insights and data that are directly feeding into the development of ITER. It's a true testament to the global nature of this whole endeavor.
So EAST is like a testing ground for some of the technologies and techniques that will eventually be used in ITER. That's pretty cool. But I have to ask, if ITER is this massive international project, why is China building its own next-generation fusion facilities? Why not just focus all their efforts on ITER?
That's a great question, and it really speaks to China's ambitious plans for fusion energy. While they're heavily involved in ITER, they also recognize the importance of developing their own independent capabilities in this field.
Right.
These new facilities will allow them to push the boundaries even further, explore new approaches, and potentially leapfrog ahead in the race to commercialize fusion power.
So it's like a two-pronged approach. They're contributing to the global effort with ITER while simultaneously pushing their own national research agenda.
Exactly.
It makes sense, I guess, from a strategic standpoint, but what are they actually building? What will these new facilities be capable of that East can't do?
Well, these new facilities are going to be larger, more powerful, and even more sophisticated than East. They'll be designed to achieve even higher plasma temperatures and densities, and to sustain those conditions for even longer periods. They'll also incorporate some cutting-edge technologies, such as advanced materials and artificial intelligence, to improve performance and control.
Sounds impressive, but I remember reading in the article that some people are skeptical about whether fusion will ever be practical. They argue that it's always decades away, that it's too expensive, too complex, and that it consumes more energy than it produces. How do you respond to those concerns?
Well, those are valid concerns, and it's important to acknowledge that fusion energy still faces some significant hurdles. Achieving what's called ignition, where the fusion reaction becomes self-sustaining and produces more energy than it consumes, remains a major goal for the field. However, dismissing fusion as a pipe dream ignores the remarkable progress being made. Just look at what East has achieved.
So you're saying that while it's important to be realistic about the challenges, we shouldn't lose sight of the incredible progress that's being made.
Exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And remember, many groundbreaking technologies faced similar skepticism and setbacks in their early stages. Think about the early days of aviation or the development of computers. Fusion research is no different. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to push the boundaries of what's possible.
It definitely sounds like a field that demands a certain level of audacity and a willingness to embrace the unknown. We're talking about recreating the process that powers the sun. It's almost like we're reaching for the stars, both literally and figuratively.
It is a truly audacious endeavor, and it speaks to the boundless curiosity and ambition of humankind.
This whole conversation is really making me think differently about the future of energy. It's clear that we need to move away from fossil fuels, and fusion seems like it could be a game changer.
It could indeed revolutionize our world. Just imagine a future where clean, safe, and virtually limitless energy is available to everyone. It could transform industries, lift communities out of poverty, and help us address climate change.
It's a powerful vision and one that's worth fighting for. But even if we don't achieve commercial fusion power in our lifetimes, the journey itself is valuable. The research and development are leading to spin-offs in other fields, like materials science, computing, and medicine.
Absolutely. The pursuit of fusion energy is driving innovation across multiple disciplines, and that knowledge will benefit humanity in countless ways.
So even if it takes longer than we hope, the effort itself is a worthwhile investment. This has been an incredible deep dive so far, and I'm already feeling like I've learned so much. But before we get too carried away with all the possibilities, I want to circle back to something we touched upon earlier. The human element. Behind all these incredible machines and experiments, there are real people, scientists, engineers, technicians, all driven by a passion for this work.
You're absolutely right. We often focus on the science and technology, but it's crucial to remember that behind every breakthrough, every innovation, there are dedicated individuals pouring their hearts and minds into this quest. It's true, fusion research is a field that demands an incredible amount of dedication, collaboration, and frankly, a bit of an adventurous spirit. You're essentially trying to tame one of the most powerful forces in the universe.
It really is. And that makes me wonder, what kind of people are drawn to this field? Is it the pure scientific challenge, the potential to make a real difference in the world, or something else entirely?
I think it's a combination of all of those things. You have these brilliant physicists drawn to the complexity of the science. You have engineers fascinated by the technological challenges, and you have technicians who take pride in meticulously building and maintaining these incredible machines. And of course, there's a shared dream of creating a cleaner, more sustainable energy future for everyone.
I'm imagining a mix of like starry-eyed idealism and hardcore pragmatism because, let's be real, making fusion power a reality is going to take a lot more than just enthusiasm.
You're right. It takes incredible perseverance. There are countless setbacks, long hours, the constant pressure of pushing the boundaries of what's possible. But there's also this deep sense of camaraderie and shared purpose that really binds these researchers together.
It's like they're on a mission, almost like explorers charting unknown territory. But instead of venturing into space, they're exploring the inner workings of matter itself.
That's a great way to put it. And speaking of exploration, this whole conversation about East and ITER reminds me of another parallel, the space race. Back then, it was all about national pride and competition. But with fusion, it seems like there's a greater sense of global cooperation.
That's an interesting point. I mean, we've been talking about China's achievements with East, but they're also deeply involved in ITER, which involves dozens of other countries. It seems like everyone recognizes that this is a challenge that's bigger than any one nation.
Exactly. Fusion research is too complex, too expensive, and frankly, too important for any one country to go it alone. The collaboration between nations on projects like ITER is a testament to that understanding.
And it's not just about sharing resources and expertise. It's also about pooling knowledge and learning from each other's successes and failures. That kind of open collaboration is essential for accelerating progress.
Absolutely. Every experiment, every breakthrough, every setback provides valuable data that informs the entire field. It's a collective learning process, and international cooperation is key to its success.
This whole conversation has really expanded my understanding of the complexity and significance of fusion research, and it's clear that China is playing a major role in driving this field forward. But I'm also curious about the human side of this story. Are there any specific individuals whose work has been particularly influential?
Oh, absolutely. There are countless unsung heroes in the field of fusion research. One individual who comes to mind is Dr. Li Jiang, a pioneering physicist who was instrumental in the development of East.
I'd love to hear more about Dr. Li. What were some of the challenges he faced, and what motivated him to dedicate his life to this research?
Dr. Li's journey was marked by incredible dedication and resilience. He began his career during a time of great upheaval and uncertainty in China and faced numerous obstacles in pursuing his passion for science.
It's fascinating to think about the historical context here. Imagine trying to conduct cutting-edge scientific research amidst political and economic turmoil.
Exactly. But Dr. Li was undeterred. He recognized the immense potential of fusion energy to transform China and the world, and he was determined to contribute to its realization. He spent years studying abroad, immersing himself in the latest advancements in plasma physics and fusion technology.
It sounds like he was truly driven by a vision of a better future. But what were some of the specific challenges he faced in developing East? I imagine building such a complex facility in China during those times couldn't have been easy.
You're absolutely right. Dr. Li faced countless hurdles, from securing funding and resources to navigating bureaucratic roadblocks. But perhaps the greatest challenge was convincing others to believe in the feasibility of fusion energy.
I can imagine there were plenty of skeptics. Back then, fusion must have seemed like something out of science fiction.
Indeed, many dismissed it as a pipe dream, too expensive and too far-fetched to ever become a reality. But Dr. Li refused to give up. He understood that any truly groundbreaking scientific endeavor requires a leap of faith, a willingness to embrace the unknown and challenge conventional wisdom.
It sounds like he had a remarkable combination of scientific brilliance and unwavering determination. And it makes me wonder, what was it about fusion energy that captivated him so deeply?
I think for Dr. Li, it was a combination of the intellectual challenge, the potential societal impact, and a deep-seated belief in the power of human ingenuity to solve even the most daunting problems.
That's a powerful combination. It's inspiring to hear about individuals like Dr. Li who dedicated their lives to pushing the boundaries of science for the benefit of humanity. And it reminds us that progress is not just about technological advancements, but about the human spirit, the courage to dream big, and the perseverance to overcome obstacles.
Absolutely, and it's that same spirit that continues to drive fusion research forward today. All around the world, there are dedicated scientists, engineers, and technicians working tirelessly to make this dream a reality.
It's almost like a relay race, each generation passing the torch to the next building upon the knowledge and achievements of those who came before. And with each breakthrough, we get a little bit closer to that finish line, that moment when fusion energy becomes a practical and accessible reality.
It's a beautiful analogy, and it highlights the fact that fusion research is not just about scientific progress, it's about human progress. It's about our collective effort to create a brighter future for generations to come.
This whole conversation has been incredibly eye-opening. It's clear that there's so much more to this story than just equations and experiments. There's this rich tapestry of human stories of dreams, setbacks, collaborations, and triumphs that have shaped the field of fusion research.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And as we delve deeper into this world, it's important to remember that behind every scientific breakthrough, every technological marvel, there are passionate individuals who poured their hearts and minds into making it happen.
Speaking of passionate individuals, you mentioned earlier that Dr. Lee faced a lot of skepticism about the feasibility of fusion energy. Is that skepticism still prevalent today? I mean, we've come a long way since then, but are there still people who doubt that fusion will ever be a viable energy source?
There will always be skeptics, and that's healthy time. Skepticism, when it's grounded in reason and evidence, can be a valuable tool for challenging assumptions and ensuring that we're pursuing the most promising paths. However, it's important to distinguish between healthy skepticism and outright dismissal.
So how do we address those doubts and concerns in a constructive way? How do we convince people that fusion energy is more than just a pipe dream?
I think the best way to address skepticism is through transparency, communication, and demonstrable progress. It's about clearly explaining the science, the challenges, and the potential benefits of fusion energy, and it's about showcasing the real advancements that are being made.
That makes sense. It's about showing, not just telling. And I think events like EAST shattering the world record for plasma confinement time are incredibly powerful in that regard.
Absolutely. Each breakthrough, each milestone achieved, helps to chip away at the skepticism and build momentum for continued investment in fusion research.
It's like each step forward provides further evidence that this ambitious goal is within our reach. But let's be realistic, we're still talking about a technology that's decades away from widespread commercialization, right?
That's true. We need to be honest about the timeline and the challenges that still lie ahead. But it's also important to remember that the pursuit of fusion energy is not just about reaching that end goal. It's about the journey itself.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the research and development efforts are already yielding valuable spin-off technologies and scientific advancements that benefit other fields. For example, the material science breakthroughs that have been made in developing high-temperature superconducting magnets have applications in areas like medical imaging and high-speed transportation.
So even if we don't achieve commercial fusion power within our lifetimes, the effort itself is generating valuable knowledge and technologies that are improving our lives in other ways.
Precisely, it's about expanding the frontiers of human knowledge and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And in that sense, the pursuit of fusion energy is already a success story.
This has been an incredibly enlightening conversation so far. I feel like we've gone beyond the headlines and really delved into the heart of what makes fusion research so compelling, both scientifically and humanly.
I agree. And as we continue to explore this fascinating world, I think it's important to keep in mind the interplay between the technical challenges, the global collaborations, and the individual stories that shape this field.
It's that combination of factors that makes this such a captivating story, and it makes me wonder, what are some of the key questions that are driving fusion research forward today? What are the next big hurdles that need to be overcome?
That's a great question, and one that leads us to the heart of the scientific challenges facing fusion research. While EAST's achievement in extending plasma confinement time is a major step forward, there are still several key hurdles that need to be overcome before we can realize the dream of practical fusion power.
So what are those hurdles? What are the next big challenges on the horizon?
One of the most significant challenges is achieving what's called ignition.
Yeah.
This is the point at which the fusion reaction becomes self-sustaining, meaning it produces more energy than it consumes. Think of it like a campfire that can keep itself burning without needing to constantly add more wood.
That makes sense. But how do we get to ignition? What needs to happen to make that a reality?
Achieving ignition requires incredibly high temperatures and pressures, and maintaining those conditions for extended periods. And that's where things get really tricky.
So it's not just about creating those conditions, it's about sustaining them long enough for the fusion reaction to become self-sufficient.
Exactly. And that requires incredibly precise control over the plasma, which is a notoriously fickle beast. It's like trying to hold a miniature sun in your hand.
Okay, I'm starting to get a sense of just how complex this all is. But I have to ask, are there any new approaches or technologies on the horizon that could help us overcome these challenges?
There are. One promising area of research is in the development of what are called advanced tokamaks. Tokamaks are the most common type of fusion reactor, and the advanced versions incorporate new design features and technologies aimed at improving plasma confinement and stability.
So it's about refining and optimizing the existing technology.
Exactly, and one of the key innovations in advanced tokamaks is the use of what are called diverters.
Diverters. Okay, now you're going to have to explain that one. What are diverters and how do they help with fusion?
Diverters are essentially exhaust systems for the plasma. They're designed to remove impurities and excess heat from the plasma, which helps to maintain its purity and stability.
Ah, so it's like keeping the plasma clean and preventing it from overheating.
Exactly, and that's crucial for achieving the long confinement times needed for ignition.
So it sounds like these advanced tokamaks are a major step forward, but what about other approaches to fusion? Are there any alternatives to the tokamak design being explored?
There are. One promising alternative is called inertial confinement fusion. This approach uses powerful lasers or particle beams to compress and heat a tiny pellet of fuel, triggering a fusion reaction.
So instead of confining the plasma magnetically, we're essentially blasting it with energy to create the conditions for fusion.
Exactly. And this approach has some potential advantages over magnetic confinement, including the potential for smaller and less complex reactors.
It sounds like there's a lot of exciting research happening in the field of fusion energy, but with so many different approaches and challenges, how do we know which path is most likely to lead to success?
That's a great question, and one that's being actively debated within the scientific community. There's no single magic bullet solution, and it's likely that a combination of approaches will be needed to ultimately achieve practical fusion power.
So it's a multifaceted challenge that requires a diverse range of expertise and approaches.
Absolutely, and that's what makes it so fascinating. It's a field that's constantly evolving, with new discoveries and innovations emerging all the time.
This whole conversation has been incredibly inspiring. It's clear that fusion energy is a complex and challenging endeavor, but it's also one that holds immense potential for transforming our world.
I couldn't agree more. And as we continue to explore this topic, I think it's important to keep in mind the bigger picture. Fusion energy is not just about science and technology. It's about humanity's quest for a cleaner, more sustainable future.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of daunting challenges, human ingenuity and collaboration can pave the way for a brighter tomorrow. And speaking of a brighter tomorrow, one of the things that has really struck me throughout this conversation is the importance of international collaboration.
Absolutely. Fusion research is a global endeavor, and the success of projects like ITER hinges on the ability of nations to work together towards a common goal.
And it's not just about sharing resources and expertise. It's about fostering a spirit of cooperation and recognizing that the challenges facing humanity transcend national boundaries.
You're absolutely right. In a world often marked by division and conflict, fusion research stands as a shining example of what's possible when we come together to address shared challenges.
It's a testament to the power of science to unite people from different cultures and backgrounds in pursuit of a common goal.
And it's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge and innovation can be a powerful force for positive change in the world.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. I feel like I've gained a much deeper understanding of the complexities and possibilities of fusion energy. But before we wrap up, I'd like to circle back to something we touched upon earlier, the human element.
I'm glad you brought that up. It's easy to get caught up in the technical details, but it's important to remember that behind every scientific breakthrough, every technological innovation, there are passionate individuals who are driving this field forward.
And I'm curious to hear more about those individuals. What are their motivations? What are the challenges they face? What keeps them going in the face of setbacks and uncertainty?
Those are great questions, and ones that lead us to the heart of what makes fusion research such a compelling human story.
So let's dive into those stories. Let's explore the human side of fusion research. It's amazing to think about the dedication and perseverance it takes to work in a field like this. You're essentially trying to create a star on Earth, facing these incredible technical challenges, and knowing that success is far from guaranteed.
It takes a special kind of person to thrive in that environment, someone who's not only brilliant and driven, but also resilient and able to embrace uncertainty.
So let's talk about those people. We've already touched on the story of Dr. Li Jiang and his contributions to EAST. Are there other individuals whose stories you think would shed light on what it takes to push the boundaries of fusion research?
There are so many fascinating stories, but one that comes to mind is Dr. Maria Hernandez. She's a young plasma physicist working on ITER. And her journey highlights the global and collaborative nature of this field.
Okay, tell me more about Dr. Hernandez. What's her story?
Well, Dr. Hernandez, she grew up in Argentina where access to advanced scientific research was limited. But she was captivated by the idea of fusion energy from a young age, inspired by books and documentaries that depicted it as a potential solution to the world's energy problems.
It's incredible to think that someone growing up on the other side of the world could be so drawn to this field. It really speaks to the universal appeal of fusion energy.
Absolutely. And Dr. Hernandez's story is a testament to the power of human determination. She pursued her passion, excelled in her studies, and eventually earned a scholarship to study physics in Europe. It was there that she first encountered the world of fusion research and realized that this was where she wanted to make her mark.
So she followed her passion all the way from Argentina to Europe and eventually to ITER, one of the most ambitious scientific projects in human history. That's an incredible journey.
It really is, and it speaks to the global nature of this endeavor. ITER is like a melting pot of cultures and perspectives, bringing together brilliant minds from all corners of the world to work towards this shared goal.
I can only imagine the energy and excitement that must permeate a place like that, to be surrounded by so many talented individuals all united by this common purpose. It must be incredibly inspiring.
It is, and Dr. Hernandez often speaks about the deep sense of camaraderie she feels. Among her colleagues at ITER, they come from different backgrounds, speak different languages, but they're all bound together by this shared passion for pushing the boundaries of science.
It makes you wonder, what is it about fusion research that attracts such a diverse and dedicated group of people?
I think it's the combination of the intellectual challenge, the societal impact, and the sheer audacity of the endeavor of fusion research is not for the faint of heart. It requires immense creativity, resilience, and a willingness to embrace the unknown. But for those who are drawn to it, it offers the opportunity to be part of something truly groundbreaking, something that could change the course of human history.
This whole conversation has given me a newfound appreciation for the human side of fusion research. It's clear that it's not just about equations and experiments. It's about the dreams, the struggles, and the triumphs of the individuals who are dedicating their lives to making this vision a reality.
And it's a reminder that the pursuit of knowledge and innovation is ultimately a human story, driven by our innate curiosity, our desire to make a difference, and our belief in a brighter future.
Well, I have to say, this deep dive into the world of fusion energy has been an incredible journey. We've explored the cutting-edge science, the global collaborations, and the inspiring stories of the individuals who are pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And I think we've come full circle to that thought-provoking question we posed at the beginning. What does the future hold for fusion energy?
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And while we can't predict the future with certainty, I think it's safe to say that the journey itself is already a testament to human ingenuity and our capacity for collaboration.
I completely agree. And whether we achieve commercial fusion power in our lifetimes or not, the pursuit of this ambitious goal is already yielding valuable knowledge, inspiring new generations of scientists, and reminding us of the power of human dreams to shape the future. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with this thought. The future of fusion energy is not just about the science. It's about us. It's about our collective will, our ingenuity, and our unwavering belief in a brighter tomorrow. So to all our listeners out there, keep those minds curious, keep those spirits optimistic, and keep those imaginations soaring because the future is ours to create.